As if the Indy 5 drama can't get any worse, it just did when it comes to what Kathleen Kennedy admitted and confirmed to everybody around the globe, revolving around the Dial of Destiny, quite literally, the literal relic itself, as well as Indiana Jones and the death of the character within the plot of the film, and exactly how this was a constant thing in the talks for the actual movie and more between herself, James Mangold, and others. Let's discuss. This is Mike Zero. Subscribe if you're new and like this video to see future updates. I'm also on Twitter at Mike01. I thank you all so very much for the great and kind support. And let's get right into exactly what Kathleen Kennedy had to say. Now, we know one thing about Kennedy right now is that she is getting very defensive over the box office projections, the backlash, as well as fans having a real disinterest in this movie. It just keeps on building and building day by day. And look, this Friday, it's going to be interesting to see exactly what the numbers are going to look like on a rough scale. We won't find out the true impact, by the way, of Indy 5 and its box office numbers by give or take maybe the first week or even the second week at that of July. Now, moving onwards here, what's really interesting about everything related to what she had to say, I believe, is even all the more damaging about her image and what she's really all about and what she thinks about the lore and the fans of both Star Wars and Indiana Jones. This, I think, further confirms exactly how toxic Kathleen Kennedy is in nature as a creator, if you want to call her that, but more around the lines of a producer, alright? Now, with Kathleen Kennedy now becoming more upfront about her plans with Indy 5, she went on to admit something crucial about what went on behind the scenes for the fifth film. She went on to deliver the following. When we were writing this thing and Mangold was really going to work, one really big idea that I had was, how do we really tell the fans that Indy's adventures are absolutely over and done for? Because, I mean, they felt that way with the fourth one, and here we are now with the fifth. So I discussed this with James, and it might be the time to have Indy meet his demise, somehow through one of the relics in the adventure, to really add closure to that there would be no possible way of revisiting Ford's iteration of the character, at least in his mature years. So we were working away for an ending like that where Indy's life would meet an end, and we partially got that ending written and even somewhat filmed, but we never really completed it, and it was a short-lived process. We had this idea of one relic we had in mind that would contribute to Indy's time of passing, and eventually we thought about the dial. In fact, it's how we came up with the idea of the dial itself. Now, let me stop here for a second. Now, we know that there were a total of 6 endings that were created, by the way, guys, to our knowledge at least, for Indy 5. One of which had a combination of Indy meeting up with Shorty, aka Short Round, portrayed by Ke Huy Quan, where he and Helena travel from Sri Lanka all the way over to China to meet up with him and to reunite with him, where Shorty gives him a map to the Himalayan mountains to uncover yet another relic, and this is where Shorty accepts to go on an adventure with him and Helena, kind of opening up the possibility of a further adventure or just kind of keeping things open-ended. And Kathleen Kennedy did not want that as well in the end, because it kind of signals that Ford would be coming back, even though they did confirm that Ford is done. He's not returning, at least in the sense of how you see him in the Indy 5 film. So what's interesting about this is that, yeah, she confirms that she was working on this with James Mangold about killing off the character, having Indy meet his demise, or having a death scene, whatever have you, and how one of the relics were going to be responsible, and how that process contributed to the creation of the idea of the dial itself. And what's interesting about this is that they wanted to really kind of do this, but James Mangold did not. She talks about this further, so let's elaborate. So she goes on to continue, alright? We were going to connect Indy meeting his end, and with Helena's character arc somehow. It was a difficult process, and we began to realize that maybe this was the wrong way to go. I know Harrison didn't want this to happen, and always wanted Indy to be one of the characters to live on for like ever. So we really had to fine-tune our endings. We went through many, James and I. We were very careful. We thought what's good, what's too much, and what's too little. Which cameos should show up and which ones should not. And we tested a lot of things, stuff like that, you know? But it did almost happen with Indy's demise. James just felt it lacked creativity and was very much lazy. So I had to respect his vision on that one. Now, what it sounds like to me, guys, and what this is translating to is that Kathleen Kennedy wanted this to happen, but James Mangold was really just pressuring Kathleen Kennedy. If you do this, that's a big mistake. You're going to have a backlash of epic proportions. Look at what happened with The Last Jedi. I'm sure that he reminded her of that, and that's probably what made her step backwards. Let's be real, alright? I believe that she did not change her mind on her own. I believe that if it weren't for James Mangold speaking up, she would have definitely gone through with this ending, without a doubt. Now, this further confirms, this is living proof that Kathleen Kennedy is all about killing off our favorite characters just for the sake of it. Look, if you want to make it apparent that a character is not coming back ever again, you don't have to kill them off, you just have to give them a proper send-off. And we've talked about how a part of that previous ending that was shot was a proper send-off, because it's Indiana Jones giving up, you know, becoming an archaeologist and kind of putting that behind him in the rearview window and hopping into a biplane-like aircraft with a vision of his father, Henry Jones, alongside him, completely made of CGI, aka deepfake technology, to recreate, of course, Sean Connery flying into the sunset. That was going to be the original plan, or one of the original plans, for the final frame of Indy 5. Quite visually stunning if you even think about it, and very much a teary-eyed experience without a doubt, because people would relate to that, a whole father and son type of thing. And after all, George Lucas loves that idea. Star Wars and Indiana Jones, both of those trilogies ended with a father and son story, and that was 100% intentional. That was all George Lucas, and basically, at the end of the day too, they could have really ended it on that note as well with this movie, but nope, they wanted to shift away, and they wanted to give us a very generic ending, is what they wanted to do, where it honors both Helena going on her own adventures, and Marion, of course, having somewhat of a role in this. We'll talk about that a little bit later. Now, what's interesting about this too, further, is that Kathleen Kennedy is opening up that Harrison Ford did not want this to happen, and that Indy is a character that he never wants to see meet his demise, and that he was okay with that happening with Han Solo. There's no doubt in my mind that that is why Harrison came back, even for The Rise of Skywalker, even though they twisted his arm, is because that vision of Han was going to 100% tell us that Han is dead, he's not alive. That's probably why he wanted to come back, to kind of just cement that in. So, anyways, it's really sad that this is the day that we live in, where these franchises are just flopping one after the other so far. I don't believe Indy 5 will be quite as bad as The Flash, but I think it's going to be a quite drastic experience for Lucasfilm. That's my overall outlook on things. But anyways, guys, drop a comment below. Fill me in below in the comments what you all have to say about this. And if you guys did enjoy the content for today, make sure to drop a thumbs up on this video to support the channel, and I will catch you guys next time.